What is up, everybody? Lyle No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. Just seeing if anybody runs up in here. Excuse me for this waiting around. Just seeing if this actually pops up or not. What's up, whoever just popped in? Nick, what's going on? I'm trying to log on to my, hold on a second, let me turn this headset off. I'm trying to log on so I can see the comments, because last time I was on here, for some reason there was some issues with that. Can you hear me? Just say yeah if you can. Just let me know if you can hear me so I don't have to. What's up, Michael, David, Nick? Alright. So, I'm going to still try to log on to my channel from here. Just in case I can't see the comments. Because last time I did this, I couldn't see the comments. So I'm going to try to get logged on from my other thing here. And then I will turn this truck off. Alright, I'm about to turn this off because I can. Alright, I'm about to turn this off. Alright, I'm about to turn this off. Alright, I just turned the truck off, so hopefully it's not going to sound as bad as it was. I don't know what this whole background noise is. I don't know what this whole background noise is. Can you guys... Alright, I think that... Alright, I think that... Can you guys hear a bunch of background noise? Like a screeching noise? Background noise. So if you could hear a screeching noise, just type in screeching noise. Let me know if you can still hear that screeching noise. Man, I don't know what this screeching noise is. Let me just shut this other app off. Alright, it's gone. Okay. So, I can still read the comments from here for some reason. Because for some reason last time I could not read the comments. So, anyway, what's the deal? What's going on? So, let me just hold up a minute real quick before I get into this. Hopefully that screeching noise is gone since I don't have this other phone on. So I am at the shit, I forgot what city I'm in now. Let's just put it this way. I'm about 50 miles north of Grove City, Ohio, at a Sheetz. I think it's Moringa. a Sheets and Moringa across the street from a Pilot. If you're familiar with the area, there's another Pilot in Flying J, or Loves or Flying J, right down the road. That's kind of the area I'm in. So exit 140, highways 1 or I-71. So just dropped off my load earlier today. I've been having some issues with this truck starter. So it starts every now and then, but if it doesn't start, I got to get out and beat the starter and all that kind of stuff. So I just told my, weekend dispatch, Jules, who I would like to say is, if I got to be on weekend dispatch, she's definitely one of the people I want to deal with. So I told her, you know what, I'm having problems. I need to get to Denver, get this truck in the shop. And she got me a load before I delivered in Streetsboro, Ohio, picking up in Grove. Where is this shit picking up? Grove City, Ohio, going out to Loveland, Colorado, dropping hook. So I'll be able, hopefully the truck will start till I can get out there, and then drop it out there, get the truck in the shop, and get this starter situation fixed. And then I need a DOT, so I'll go ahead and get the DOT done. And chassis lube, that's little shit, I'm not worried about that, but get that done, and then do that while I'm at home rather than out on the road. So that's kind of what I'm doing. This morning I had to get up and beat on my starter to get the truck started. I was at that Perrysburg, Ohio, down there by the TA, Loves, and all that. So I don't pick up till tomorrow at 0900. Hopefully it'll start in the morning. So that's what's going on here. As far as other stuff, I might let a few more people come in here before I kind of get into what's been going on. See, here's the problem. I'm not seeing the comments over here. So let me read the comments here. Shout out from the Salt Lake City terminal. What's up, Fred? What's up, Dick Dickerson? And good luck with the chicken coops. Well, good thing I don't have to deal with the chicken coops too much on this load. This is going to be a dry load. Picking up tomorrow 0900. And going directly to Loveland, Colorado. So Loveland, Colorado is about 55, 60 miles from the drop yard. So I'll get out there, drop the trailer, take my truck to Peterbilt, and get it in to get done. So just kind of what's been going on is, for those of you guys that haven't been watching, so I had 4 trucks out there at Prime, and there was just a number of events that just happened all at the same time that made me realize how much my dick was hanging out in the wind. And actually, I'll speak about one of them, but one of them was, I had a driver that picked up a load and supposed to go to McDonough. It was supposed to go to McDonough, Georgia. And hold on, I'm just trying to see. There is no new yard in Denver unless, can you tell me about the new yard in Denver? I think a lot of people were mistaking the old yard in Denver for a new yard. But explain that to me, because I'll be out there. So anyway, what happened was Damn, I lost my train of thought. Alright, so I had a confluence of events happen at the same time. And I'll speak about one. There was one where I had a driver picking up a load going to McDonough, Georgia. And there was confusion on the load because if I remember correctly, the instructions were to drop it at the drop yard, or that's where the address was, or something along those lines. So my driver sent a Qualcomm message asking, here's what's going on. Should I drop it here or take it to the 90 or whatever? And the message was, drop it at the drop yard. For some reason, somebody dropped that or turned off that reefer in the McDonough drop yard. We ended up losing that entire load. They were not coming at anybody for no, deductibles. They were coming at people for the whole amount. Luckily, my driver had that all in Qualcomm. So, anyway, I thought about that and thought about everything that's going on. I was like, listen, I do not want to expose myself to this shit. So, I had 4 trucks at Prime. I had 2 24s, a 22, and a 21. I gave back the oldest of the 24s. Just turned that back into Prime. Sold my 21. So now I have the 22 and a 24 out there. And that has been the best move I've probably made in the last few years. Oh, well, shoot. If we're at the Navajo yard out in Colorado, that is a nice yard. That's right down the street from our old drop yard. Before we got the new drop yard, they actually have facilities and all that kind of stuff there. That is a good yard. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm doing right now, is just kind of trying to make it past this situation. And then, like I said, I'll have 2 trucks only, less headaches, less everything. This truck that I'm in now, 260,000 miles, will be paid off in December, and that will kind of put me back right where I was before with less headaches. So that's kind of what's going around. I have not seen any lot lizards the entire time I've been out here on the road at all. Maybe I've been at the wrong place. Maybe I'm not looking, but I haven't seen that. So that's what's up. I'm just out here hoping this truck makes it to Denver, because if it doesn't, and I got to put it in the shop, I'm going to get a rental car, because I'm not just sitting around in a hotel. So that's one thing I'm not going to do. So any of you guys that have been in Denver, this guy's saying we got a new yard in Denver, RTC NAV. That Navajo yard was right down the street from our old drop yard, or terminal, should I say, because that place actually had restrooms, facilities, people actually working there. It's right down the street from that, like not even a half a mile. So I don't know if Navajo is going out of business. I did overhear a little stuff that makes me believe that there was a trucking company that was about to go out of business, or needed some help, that had about 1,000 trucks. So I don't know if that's that company or what, but I did overhear that from reliable sources. I'm not sure if that's the company though. Why don't I know? Because when I was listening to this information, there was always somebody that was trying to kiss some ass, walking up, breaking up the conversation so I couldn't hear it as good as I wanted to hear it. So, if it wasn't for that, I might have been able to get a little bit more information. Alright, let's see. What does this comment say? We're in the process of changing drop yards in Denver to the New location will be RTC NAV. It's Navajo Yard. We will no longer be using RTC 2 by 926 to drop empties at the new drop yard. Okay, so what's the date today? I'll be in Denver on the 25th, so hopefully that Navajo drop yard. See, I'm wondering if the information I was hearing was talking about Navajo being the company that was having some issues, and then maybe, I don't know, maybe if Prime scoops up Navajo or something like that, or I don't know, but I was hearing that information, or hearing information about a company that was having issues with about 1,000 trucks. Maybe that's why. I don't know. But that is a nice drop yard, the Navajo drop yard or terminal. Because they actually had a trucking school out there as well. So right there at that Navajo drop yard, there was a trucking school right there on their yard. What's up from Sweden? What's going on? So I'm just hoping that in the morning I can start this truck without having to get out there and beat on the starter. It really makes me feel uneasy. Like, I feel uneasy stopping my truck when I'm fueling, any of that stuff. So just let me get to Denver, then we can just do what we got to do. So I forgot what the title. Listen, the title of this video I forgot what the title was. Let me take a look. Get That Load There was the title of my video. And the reason I'm saying that is sometimes you don't know if you're doing things wrong until somebody tells you you're doing things wrong. And they may not even be wrong. They may just be the way you're doing things. And a lot of times that will come to where you're like, okay, I got this much time on a load. Let me not run that load out as hard as I can. And there's several reasons why this becomes a problem. It could be that you have a breakdown, or it could be weather, it could be whatever. But always get that load as far as you can every day till you get it to where you're going. Because if you don't, they're always going to be able to find a way to pin that shit on you. So, other reasons why would be, let's say that you're delivering a place like Salt Lake City area, something like that. I personally don't like dropping loads on people with 50 miles to go and dicking them out, because trust me, if I'm coming out of home time and I get that fucking 20-mile load, that pisses me off. But let's say you're that type of person, doesn't mind dicking somebody over, you might be able to drop a load on the Salt Lake City terminal and say, you know what, let somebody else take this load and you keep moving. So that's one thing. Or else you could get near to where you're going and say, I'm available for a repower, something like that. But just ways to keep you moving. MAGA Madness, here, I tell you what, if I do everything wrong, let's go ahead and compare 401ks and home equity and all that kind of stuff. We can go ahead and match that up, and whoever loses that will end up paying a little bit of cash. I'll place that bet. And I might have a camera in my truck. You know what? Sometimes it is what it is. But one thing I can say is it's short term. Whatever it is. I don't have that much longer in trucking to go, I guess. So, but hey, if you want to compare shit, we can go ahead and do that and put a little bit of cash on that if you'd like. Because anybody saying some... See, I'm not saying that because I think I'm all that. Anybody saying some shit like that usually doesn't have shit to go along with it. It's not sensitive, it's the real deal. So sensitive would be you paying that cash for losing that bid. That's what that is. So if you want to do that, let's do that. Well, hey, I appreciate you pressing the like button. You know what I mean? It makes me feel better about myself. Alright, let's see, Nick. What was the least you would have sold your 21 for? I'm not sure. I sold my 21 for a price I thought was a good price for him and me. I don't really want to get into all that, but it was enough to... I thought it was a very fair price on that 21 for both of us. I'm in Ohio. I forgot the name of the city. I mentioned it earlier. It started with an M, Magana or some shit, outside of Grove City, Ohio. I-71, exit 140. I'm at a Sheetz. Alright. Hey, I really don't care to get into politics all that much. Everybody knows me, knows what I'm thinking about that, but yeah. I mean, I don't mind letting anybody know. I ain't ever going to be about no Trump shit. Not that, you know, I have plenty of friends that are Trump friends and we get along together, but, you know, sometimes there's just certain things that are beyond. Even if somebody was to say, I'm not even going to get into it. It is what it is. All right. I hear you, Wombats. Yo, what's up? I don't care about it personally, but I need trucking to come back. Okay, I understand that. I don't think that had... If you really... Alright, listen. I don't want to get into this shit because people think what they think either way. But the shit that set up trucking to be in this situation it's in now was done before this administration got in. Not that it matters. I don't really give a fuck either way. Because as far as I'm concerned, that has no reason, has no bearing on why I would or wouldn't like either of the candidates. So, and trust me, I'm not one to be bitching or whining about the government putting me in a bad... That's the last... You will never hear me say that I'm doing good because of the president, or I'm doing bad because of the president, or the administration. That's weak shit right there. That is some weak ass bullshit right there. So I'm strong enough to say, you know what? I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Good, bad, or whatever. A president ain't got shit to do with it. I should be able to... Listen, people are always blaming people that have gone through shit. All they got to do is step up and do it. They don't ever take in consideration the shit that happened to them in the past as a person or as a culture, but expect them to pull their strength, you know, pants up by their bootstraps. You know, fuck that. If you're that weak to blame what's going on because of a presidential administration, then that's what it is. And there's nothing wrong with being weak. Trust me. Oh, that shit's pissing me off. Anyway, let me stop. Weak motherfuckers. I ain't worried about what's going on. Whoever gets president or whatever, I'm going to keep my grind going, whatever it is. And I'm not going to be out here bitching about how fucked up my life is because who's in office. Fuck that. I think I'm in... Alright, sorry. I got off on that rant. I think I'm in Magana, Ohio or some shit like that. Exit 140 off of I-71. There's a Pilot across the street. There's a Sheetz over here where I'm at. And then there's another Loves or Pilot or something down the road a little bit. And my wife happens to be in here watching this. How am I going to sound to my wife when shit's all going bad? And, you know, shit hasn't been going excellent lately. But how am I going to be going to my wife acting like I can't fucking fulfill my needs as a fucking husband, father, whatever, because of fucking who's in office? That's some weak bullshit. And anytime you hear somebody say that shit on Facebook or whatever, that's never going to be me. Because I'm not going to be that fucking weak. Oh, I'm so pissed off even thinking about this. Anyway, let me stop. Oh, God, that pisses me off. I'm a no excuses motherfucker. If some shit happens to me, and trust me, it's happened to me, and I've gone through a lot of that shit this last year, you're never going to hear me blame the shit on a company, on the country, president, illegal immigrants, whatever. It's all on me. That's being a man right there. Oh, I can't stand that shit. I'm about to get riled up right now. All right, let's see. So that's kind of where I'm at. Like I said, I was happy, or I got in a position where I was able to. I was in a position with these trucks. So I had 4 trucks, right? So I had a bunch of shit happen at the same time. And I had somebody who wanted to drive for me, and I just started looking at the exposure that I was getting exposed to. And I was just like, you know what? There is no way I want to continue with this. Because my life is being predicated on other people's family members dying, cats, dogs being ill, running shit off the road, everything but what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? So the entire year, for the most part, was done, or I was doing to offset these other trucks. So when I had somebody that was ready to go, there was, like I said, these confluence of events that happened. And I just said, you know what, no matter how good the driver is, you can guarantee me the driver is a perfect driver, not have anything go wrong. And I just said, you know what, I'm just open too much to what's going on out there. I just heard about a guy that had a mini fleet at Prime, whose driver, and listen, nobody thinks about that. The only people that think about this shit are the people that have a chance to actually lose some shit. So I knew somebody that had a mini fleet. His driver wanted to go home for a 10-hour break, parked his truck in the wrong place. A tow truck came, towed his truck, $9,000 to tow the truck. Guess who did not pay for $9,000? The guy that was driving the truck. So I started thinking about all this, and I was like, you know what, fuck it. Why am I going to expose myself to more shit? I know what I'm doing. If anybody wants to go, if they're not doing, they can go, whatever. I got a driver right now that I don't think is going to expose me to too much stuff. But 2 people is easy to worry about than more. So, anyway, let's, I'm trying to breathe. Too many variables, of course, with, like I said, a lot of the stuff doesn't have anything to do with me. A lot of it is just somebody's truck going down. And the thing about trucks going down is usually it's never your truck. It's never your truck going down. It's the other person's truck that's going down, where you're having to pay for their hotel rooms and their breakdown pay and the truck pay. It's never your truck, so there's always that. And I think one of the differences a little bit with my newest driver is he leased before. So in a way, he can kind of understand things a little bit better from the standpoint of me not taking this low because I'm tired, or whatever impacts things a little bit differently. Or I don't know, it's I can tell there's a little bit more thought into things. But still, either way, it all funnels down to me. All right, so Muhammad Hassan asked me what is going on. What are my thoughts on super ego? My thoughts on super ego. Hold on. My thoughts on super ego is that there's too many people failing at Super Ego for not. I mean, there's people that fail at Prime, but there's usually a way that you can point at it and say, here's why they failed. I think Super Ego is in a position where there's too much shit out there about them as far as editing logs and doing all that stuff, to where something's going to come back on them. And their lease purchase, from what I've heard, is shit. You know, I could say whatever I want about Prime. I could talk about how bad they are. Their lease purchase, I'm going to say this and I'm going to stand 10 toes down on this. There is no lease purchase in trucking as good as Prime's lease purchase. Period. 3 years over, maybe 4 if you decide to take the long route. 3 years over and it's done. Paid off, $100, balloon payment and you're out. Super Ego, I mean, have they had anybody that's actually completed that? I don't know. My wife is happy that I said fuck it, and I'm happy about that too. MAGA Madness, I was born in 1979. I can't stand these new age babies. I was born in 1969, so I'm a old school Gen X on the verge of being baby boomer. And I'm just, we're rugged like that. So we got all the baby boomer sensibility, economic conservatism is a lot of those baby boomers, but you know what? I'm old school. Some of this shit I can't even get with. The music today, I don't even want to talk about the music, but even beyond the music, just like I'm old enough Gen X to where I can't even figure out all this cloud shit and putting shit on the cloud. I can't do none of that. But I got them old school values. Patrick says I can't get a CDL. That might be a good thing. I don't know. There's always a little bit of good with whatever happens is bad. I had a student cause $4,000 in damage that he caused, didn't even apologize. I should have left him at the hotel. Wombats, I just got done speaking with the trainer at Prime. Excellent trainer, been training at Prime for I don't know how long. He's in with the in crowd at Prime, and I'm not talking about above the fleet manager level. And this guy has a student on his truck that is fucking going absolutely. He's losing his fucking mind, and he's having problems getting this guy off the truck. This shit that's going on with some of these students and shit, I've been lucky. And the reason I say I'm lucky is because you could ask my wife, if I had some of these issues going on with a trainee I had, they'd be gone. A lot of these people are, a whole lot more tolerant than me. And some of the stuff is principle. Some of the stuff is well, if you do this and you're fired. And I'm saying, you know what? As much as I like working at Prime, there's a principle that I need to deal with, and I'm going to stand on those principles before I stand on whether I'm going to work at Prime or not. And that sometimes your principles is more than your job, and you might lose money, and that could come with politics as well. If I did believe, there comes a chance when I could say, you know what, I do believe that if I voted this way, then things would be better financially. But if I can't stand on the principles, then it doesn't matter how much it affects me like that. And I'm that type. And my point with some of that is I could not sit there and have a trainee talking to me the way I've heard some of these trainees talk, and that's not on me, or I'm not going to drive because I didn't get enough time to sleep when you were just off for 13 hours. No, I can't do it. You got to go. All right, anyway, let's see. I had a student. All right, we already talked about that one. I knew somebody that student caused a bunch of damage to their truck. So the student got paid while the truck was down. The trainer ended up having to pay for a deductible for whatever the damage was done. And then the student got mad that the trainer was only going to get a hotel room with 2 people staying in it, as opposed to getting his own hotel room. Oh, are you fucking crazy? Anyway, I was lucky. My students were all runners. My students were all 10.5-hour runners, even longer than that. You know, so I did all right with my students. All right, Wombats just paid off his truck 2 months ago. Lease purchase is the best. Hey, paying that truck off. This truck, like I said, paid off in 2.5 more months. So that'll just leave me with this truck paid off, another driver, and then if that driver decides to leave, this fly is going to absolutely piss me off. Then if that driver decides to leave, then I can just run the other truck. And this truck will not be as hard to sell as my 21, because having a 22 truck with low miles on it opens up dealers and things like that to buy in your to buy in your truck, rather than just regular people. God damn it. So I don't know why my comments aren't showing up on my other phone. Okay, so let's see. My wife says 68 dork. I don't know if I said I was born in 69, but I was born in 1968. Let's see, 69, damn, you looking good for your age. Okay, so I was born in 68, not 69. So my birthday's coming up in October 12th. I don't know what's going on with the student that the guy was kicking off the truck. As a matter of fact, he hasn't kicked him off the truck yet. So that's something that's supposed to be happening. They kept trying to put him off. Like, I want to kick the student off the truck. Okay, you got to talk to this guy, but this guy was never answering the phone. So I think he's about to push that a little bit further. Okay. And break. Hold on. God damn it, this fly is about to piss me off. Alright. Alright, he's gone. Alright, so alright, this one's a little deep for me, so find peace, embrace the present moment with mindfulness, and cultivate wisdom with yourself. Liberation from suffering is found in understanding and that last word, not that I can't read it, but the writing is so small I can't see it. Truck drivers are so annoying. I believe it. I can understand you. And if you're really annoyed by it, probably get off this channel, because most people are truck drivers. Johnny B, what's up? No hippie, off-grid, nothing worse than a fly in the cab. That shit drives me crazy. Man, there's something worse than flies in the cab. When I was in training, we were in Tennessee somewhere, and for some reason we had the windows open and all these mosquitoes got in. If I had a video of that, because they were tearing us up in the truck, and this was when I was in training. I was a student. Man, it took us probably 30 minutes. I mean, we were literally killing every mosquito one at a time. Crazy. Shamarcus, what's up? Hey, getting that stress on a lower level right now. Just sold the 21 and just turned back in the 24 that I had a year and a half on. Best money I will probably ever spend on that. So now I just got me and somebody else to worry about, not a whole group of people. All right. How many miles am I? 22. I think I have about two. I don't want to flip my switch because I'm having a problem starting the truck. I have about 239,000, something like that. My thoughts on the Baltimore and Dallas game. I don't know. I don't really watch football. I'll tell you a story. I quit a good company back in the days because I was so into football back then that I quit the job because I couldn't have Sundays off. And it was American Furniture Warehouse. You've probably seen their trucks on the road. I was a furniture salesman. I was making good money back then for that. It was right after I tried to get out of the car business. I tried to get out of the car business before I got in the mortgage business. And this is back in like 96, 97. I was probably making $5,500, $6,000 a month. Something like that back then. I quit the shit because I couldn't watch football on Sundays. That's how dumb it was. And I kind of stopped worrying about it. Then I got out of the business and got into mortgages, and weekends were off. But I never really regained that. And now that I've been trucking, I really haven't even thought about football since I've been in it. And it's really stupid. Like, grown men are going to worry about the outcome of two other, teams of old, And once you get older than the players, that was like the real kicker. Once I got older than the players playing football, it really kind of changed things. Like, how am I going to, look up to or root or, whatever for a younger, how am I going to do that for some young-ass kid? Like, now, why am I going to be, looking at some guy as a hero? And the motherfucker's, 22 years old. So it's kind of changed it a little bit. Especially when I saw all the dumb shit young football players do. On the field, off the field, financially, all that shit. So they should be looking up to other people is really the way it should be. Alright, so let's see. MAGA, any ideas for birthday? My wife knows I do not fuck around with birthdays. I do not care about no birthdays. The only birthday I even mildly worry about is the Marine Corps birthday, and that's about it. Wombats, I'm gonna kill any fly that's in here. My wife says he only cares about the Marine Corps birthday, not his personal birthday. That's true. My wife is going to go take a nap. All right. Well, I'll be seeing her in a few days. And it's not even a Marine Corps thing or a patriotic thing or anything like that. That's not why the Marine Corps birthday is so special to me. It's just that all the people that I served with, that's the day that everybody kind of reconnects. You know what I mean? So I've been out of the Marine Corps. So if you think about the Marine that's been enlisted in the Marine Corps longer than anybody has been in the Marine Corps less time than I've been out. So that says a lot. So that November 10th Marine Corps birthday is the one day when all these people, not all of them, but a lot of the people I've kept touch with since I got out of the Marines in 1991 or met before that, we all at least touch base with each other. Not necessarily because of the Marine Corps, I mean, that's part of it, but it's just, those are people we did shit with. Those are our people. I don't know. Now, hey, I only made it to corporal, but the people that I was in with, the guys that stayed in, they're like E9, Master Gunnery Sergeant, Sergeant Major, shit like that. And actually, they're both retired at this point. So I had somebody ask me, is being in the trucking industry worth it? And that is going to have a lot to do with what your mindset is. I'm going to tell you right now, and I'll give you two different things to think about. Is the trucking industry worth it? If you can extract everything you need to out of it, then it can be worth it. But if you come out here and bullshit around and do not get what you can out of this business, there is no bigger waste of time than being out here in trucking. Now, if you're at Prime or even Swift, I just saw a Swift video. They had the CEO out there, and what's the thing he was talking about? Going home with his kids and doing all. Listen, if you're young, and I'm too old to be making this pivot right now, but if I was 24, 25, 30 maybe, get your ass off this truck and get in-house. If you're at Prime, get off social media where they can't be tracking all the shit you might be saying or whatever, and get in-house. All those people in-house. My fleet manager, I don't even know how old he is, young buck. I'm giving him advice about money. He's been at Prime for like over 10 years, 13 years, or whatever. Everybody you see at Prime that's in-house, and they brag about it all the time. How long have you been at Prime? Well, I've been at Prime since 1995. How many truck drivers are saying that? There's a higher percentage of in-house people been at Prime all these years, so that should let you know right now. This right here is the grinder. If you like Prime, and I say Prime's a good company, get the fuck off of the truck and get in-house. That's what I gotta say. No matter how much you like driving, you can like driving as much as you want. Get off this road. Get in-house. I hear you, JVC. Do not be out. Listen. And I guess that depends on if you like living in Springfield. Like everywhere Prime has a terminal, there's probably places where a lot of people don't want to live anyway. So do not be like, if you gotta live in Springfield, that's gonna take, a certain amount of, I don't know. Pittston, not much better. Salt Lake City, maybe. Like I'd probably live in Salt Lake City before those two, but then again, shit, how many people you see at Prime now that are in safety meetings? They're like, well, you want to talk to somebody in Salt Lake City? Here's somebody in Salt Lake City. The next thing you know, next meeting, they're gone. And then, 3 weeks later, Salt Lake City, everybody that's been on camera in Salt Lake City has been gone. So I don't know. In-house seems to be the best place to go. Maybe not too high, maybe not too low. Just that middle management where you don't get fired for whatever you do. That's the place to be. And for all you guys who were able to make it to the driver appreciation at the terminals, I think one of my drivers was able to make it out there to get his free food. Not that most drivers would be able to get out there. That might have been the in-house appreciation meeting or day or whatever, but that's good if you're able to make it out there. All right, let's see. Least driver, best driver, out here working hard, I hear you. Hey, JW or JVC, who are you talking about that was at Prime since 2019? How did you balance the demands of military service in your personal life without being an invasive person? Well, I was in the military in the late 80s, early 90s. And to answer that question, I was not able to do that because looking back on it, it was a good thing, but that whole thing was basically a marriage killer. And there was really no personal time with all that war going on and all that shit going on back then. So there was no, in the military, in the Marines, there's no balance. I think you might get balance in the Air Force, maybe even the Navy, but the Marine Corps, definitely not. I don't know about the Army, but you ain't getting no balance in the Marine Corps, period. Can't go to the terminal for these dumbass picnics and things. I was actually in Springfield during that picnic because I had a truck in the shop, and I did not go to the picnic. So, because I just didn't go. So, no need to leave no likes. As a matter of fact, I'm going to start, once I get things leveled out. I mean, I haven't been doing any videos, so for that reason I feel, because these videos don't really tell anybody or teach anybody anything. I felt like my actual videos kind of help people out in terms of mindset or how to do things or whatever. Lately I haven't been doing that, so I'm gonna get back to a little bit more of that. I just got to get back. I just got to get back to I don't know, my mindset hasn't, I've been more kind of not necessarily survival mode, but I haven't necessarily been in a position where I feel like when all this is over with, because a lot of the questions people ask me I can't answer until I get through this. And I think what I have to say about that is going to be invaluable, but I want to get through that first. And I don't want to do it until then, until I can really kind of, where I can really kind of speak on it through the whole course of things. And that could be on a number of different levels. It could be, I won't even get to that. There's going to be a lot of things that I do talk about that I'm not talking about now, that I will talk about in the future once I'm able to look back on it rather than going through it, if that makes sense. Johnny B, listen. Okay, hey, we got some good shit coming here. Alright, AN says, wait. Did I get Jared or Chris as my FM? No, I did not. Least driver, best driver. Will you do the Friday morning recaps again? Back when the Friday morning meetings were not as they are now, I felt comfortable talking about them. The situation where they're at now is, I really don't feel like, I could leave my comments on them, but I think those comments might be comments that get, I'm not trying to leave anywhere until I'm ready to leave. And some of the things that I would be reporting on those Friday morning meetings would probably not be something that would put me in the best situation to work at Prime long term. So think about this. There's a lot of people that have a lot to say about what's going on in Prime. And I have a lot good to say about Prime. But a lot of times you want to say it in one, how can I explain? Let's put it this way. A lot of people that have been in Prime for a long time, that have been posting videos about Prime for a long time, and I'm saying way before I got to Prime, are silent now. Now, a lot of that's just because, for example, me, I don't want to say anything. Things are changing so much that I can't really even talk about Prime because things are changing so much. Or I may not agree with what's going on at any certain time. So rather than say anything about it, I say nothing about it. And I'm not the only one that's doing that. There's other people longer than me at Prime that are kind of in the same situation. So until things get settled down, I probably won't talk about Prime because we don't know what's going on. Like, every day it changes. All right. So that's why I don't really talk about those meetings. D's at Prime 1, alright, your videos are more helpful. And I think that my videos were more helpful back when I didn't worry about what was going on at Prime. I think now, listen, we're in a position right now where I think that no matter how good somebody is or information somebody gets from Prime, there's only a certain amount of freedom that you might have to speak about things before something becomes an issue. And I'm not trying to put myself in that position, if you understand that. Alright. 420 something other, I can't read that. Before that, if you were to design your own ideal society, what would be the key principles and blah blah it would guide? How would you address issues like inequality, justice, and environmental equality? That shit right there, that question is a little deep, so I don't know. First thing I would see, it's so deep because there's certain things I'd like to say that I can't really speak on or I can speak on them, but they kind of still go against, okay, let's just say if it was a perfect world. Personally, I would say, you know what? I'm not necessarily for illegal immigrants or anything like that, but I can't hate on them because if I was in a bad situation, I'd be trying to do the same thing they are. So, in that aspect, it's not like I'm rooting for them, but I can't, this wind is kicking up out here. I need to be watching out for tornadoes and shit. Damn, let me read this question again. That was deep. Inequality. I think one way I can kind of address this is that that is a deep question. I'm going to tell you that right now. If you were on your own ideal society, what would you... Key principles. My God. That might be too deep for YouTube. I love the question, but it is so deep. How would you address issues of inequality, justice? Sometimes it is what it is. Inequality is just kind of what it is. And to be honest with you, some of these people out here that are these whole American, elitists and stuff, and they're like, I'm American. You know what? They just got lucky because their mom had a pussy and dropped them off in the right fucking country. You know what I mean? They didn't do shit to get here. They were just born here. They got lucky enough to be born here. So, fuck, that is a deep question, man. First of all, let me just say this. I do not besmirch anybody that's looking for a better life. So if you happen to be illegal and you make it across here and you fucking make it, I ain't got no problems with you, because that's what I'd do if I felt that was the case. I might not blame you. I might blame the, Border Patrol or government, whatever, but I'm not gonna blame you for that shit. You're looking for your best life. Damn, how would I address the issues of inequality? Man, I don't know, because, a lot of people don't think it's inequality. A lot of people, and I'm just going to say it, a lot of people think like, okay, well, somebody whose grandparents weren't able to buy homes and they don't think that affects them, and now they're like, well, why don't you pull yourself up by the bootstraps? Meanwhile, they're getting fucking inheritance from their grandmother who's had inheritance passed down to them for 3 or 4 generations, while the guy who didn't have that chance gets shit, and now you're going to call us equal. No, fuck that. You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of bullshit Americans out there that got a leg up on some shit that are trying to compare themselves to somebody whose great-grandfather was a slave, didn't have shit to pass on to him, or Indian, or whatever. So it's not equal. I personally like to say, you know what, things aren't fucking equal, and I'm beating your ass anyway. So that's the way I look at it. I'm done with that. I'm not going to go any further, but you get the point. So I'd rather beat you at your own shit and have you have all the advantages rather than being somebody who didn't have this money trickling down or was living in an area where they built a fucking highway that devalued your property value so you didn't have anything to pass on. I'd rather be like, fuck that. I can handle it on my own. I don't need none of this shit. So you know what? You did have your parents pass down shit. You know what? You didn't. You weren't looked down on this shit. I might have done that, and now I'm killing you at your own shit. That's the way I look at it. Enough of that. Alright, I'm leasing my truck. Purple Priority. Okay, I've seen them. They picked up a few of them. Logan, Utah, purple or red Peterbilt's out in. Okay, so anyway. I don't want cameras in my truck either. I think, you know what? I don't even want to get on this because that's going to be something that gets me canceled at Prime. So I'm not going to continue talking about the inward-facing cameras. Because that will be something that gets me fired before I really want to get fired. So we're not going to talk about that. Pep rally, circle jerk, and whatever you say, they'll fire you. Yeah, maybe. Best to just not say much. There's problems at every company. It's just how you choose to deal with it. I agree with that, Johnny, and that's why I've kind of came to the point where let me just thug it out. You know what I mean? Let me just do what I got to do, make it through this, and kind of go from there. Romaine the trucker, or should I say Romaine the sitter? What's up, yo? Just joking about that. At the end of the day, you have to do as much research on a company as much. Obviously, definitely got to do research on wherever you're going to work. Alright, so let's see. Paulo, what about blaming the country they are running from? You know, that could have something to do with it too. You know what I mean? But, okay, so let's say this. You can come up with a number of different reasons why people leave countries, right? But you're going to say if you do it legally, and there are certain standards set for leaving countries legally. So all them motherfuckers that are supposed to be eating cats and dogs and all that, they did it legally, regardless of if you want them in your place or not. They did it legally. What I'm saying is, I don't care if you do it legally or illegally. If you put yourself in a better position, I personally ain't got nothing wrong. I admire you for doing that shit. And it's easy to say, you know what? I married somebody from some other country. I mean, really? I mean, it's almost like if it wasn't for you, they wouldn't have made it here anyway. So it's hard for me to really. I'm in favor of anybody. Like I say this is a Malcolm X thing. By any means necessary. If I'm in a fucked up situation, no matter where I'm at, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get myself out of that. And that could be going to somewhere illegally. It could be doing some shit illegally. But if I'm in a desperate situation, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get done. So I could blame the country I came from. I could blame whoever, but I'm going to do what I need to do. And listen, everything comes full circle. If you think America or United States is going to be number one forever, I got something for you. Time lasts a long fucking time. There's never been a country that's been number one forever. There is going to be a time, 300 years, 1,000 years, 600 years from now, that America is not the best country in the world, whether it be because climate or, whatever. Shit, look back on the history of the world. Things have changed because of just random shit. It could be climate. It could be things that happen because of climate. It could be, when I say that, what do they call them? A meteor hits hits like a certain area of the country, and it decimates everybody in a certain area, or knocks out a bunch of shit, and then America's not going to be number one forever. Let's just get that straight. So at some point, there's going to be a reason for people in America to go somewhere else. It's migration. It's happened over the course of hundreds of years. And the United States will never just be number one. So what are we going to say to those people? All right. All right, let me get to this. I don't know why my comments aren't showing up over here. All right, let's see. Considering the vast... I need to get some glasses on, trying to read some of this stuff. This stuff is tiny. This over here I could read. This is smaller. The vast distances you travel and diverse landscapes you see. How has your job shaped your perspective on life and the world around you? All right, so, Tommy Unfiltered just came in here, so I'm going to talk a little bit actually about him in particular, okay? So one thing I will say about being a truck driver over the road, and I'll get to him in a second. Two different things have happened that I really stood back and thought about as far as race in America. So it was my first time in the Deep South. And one thing I always said was, I grew up in Denver, and Denver, for the most part, after like 1990s, early 90s, it was pretty much going to be like it was kind of leaning a little bit more towards liberalism, all that kind of stuff. It had always been that kind of way, but you kind of always had older people that weren't. But still, you'd look at the South and be like, man, that shit is backward as fuck. Like, if you saw somebody flying, even racist people in Colorado, if you saw a Confederate flag, like, even racist people were like, that shit's racist right there. So I grew up kind of under that. So I first get out of the truck and I go down to Georgia, and I'm like Deep South Georgia. It's a mom and pop truck stop, and I'm just thinking, man, I don't even want to walk into this place. And I walk in there, and the lady's like, all nice as fuck, and it just caught me by surprise, right? Oh, how you doing? I forgot what she said. Some endearing term, like, how are you doing, sweet? Yeah, how you doing, sweetie? And all this shit. And I'm like looking at her, and I'm like, all right, I'm in Deep South. They got a Confederate flag waving right out here, and this lady's calling me sweetie. So then I kind of started changing a little bit, or I thought about it. And then a few other things happened when I was in training, and I was like, okay, well, you know what? I got to change my thoughts on this. So there was a time when this whole George Floyd thing was happening in Minnesota. I remember exactly where I was at. I was on I-22, I-78 between Memphis and Birmingham, Georgia. There's a mom and pop truck stop. I forget exactly where that was at. But I pull up in there, and walk inside. There's nobody in there at the counter, at the cash register. But near the back, the two people that work at this place are in the back. And that's by where the food's being made. So you have the one lady that was taking the orders to make the food. Then you had the lady that was the cashier that was back there watching the news. So the George Floyd video news conference, all that shit was on. And I hear the ladies talking about it. I was like, all right, here we fucking go. And I walk back there. They do not see me in this place. They're talking to each other. And she says, I'm paraphrasing, isn't it a shame what they did to that? Isn't that a shame what they did to those guys? And I'm thinking, here I am down South Mississippi, and I got two people that I would have probably looked at as being racist without knowing, if I'd have just prejudged them. These two racist women out here, like, sitting here concerned about what was going on with George Floyd in that part of So at that point I was like, okay, that changed everything with the way I thought. So what trucking really gave me was a broader context of what's going on. Like, sure, in the South you might have people that have different beliefs and all this kind of stuff that I might have, and maybe there are some of these places where I don't want to be, but for the most part I don't drive through areas that I would look at as being, like, I don't even think about it anymore. Like, I don't drive through South Georgia, Alabama, whatever, and be like worried about racism, because I really haven't faced it. And had you asked me this before I got into trucking, like, the last place I wanted to be was fucking South Georgia, any of that shit. So I grew as a person from truck driving from that aspect. All right, let's see. Give me just a second. Let me catch up. So, anyway, just to make things, so every now and then I'd be thinking about, where would I like to either buy a second house, or where would I maybe like to live? Now I got a little bit more to worry about because I got grandkids, and my wife is like got grandbaby fever, so I can't like move too far out of Colorado. But there were times I never would have thought about Tennessee, Georgia, fucking none of that shit. And now it's like, okay, these are some of the places I would be considering where I never would have thought about that shit before. South Carolina, none of that. Great question, though. Made me think a lot about that, about things I thought about. What's up, Leah? Leah? The South is very African American prevalent place. Living in Florida over 20 years, I feel like I am more likely to experience prejudice, but that's just from my own perspective. I'd never really thought about racism to much degree growing up, because like you'd see it, but it was just like, it wasn't real. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, I can't even explain it. Like, there's a difference between real racism and like just people saying stupid shit. In Colorado, you don't have no you don't stumble on no real racism enough to really speak about. And I'm not even saying that you stumble on that a lot out there, but that was my perception going into trucking, was if I get down to the South, that's what it's going to kind of be. And it really took a lot of it took a lot for me to kind of change my thought on that. And I think, okay, here's what I'm going to say. I never really faced a lot of racism growing up. I mean, you obviously knew that there were racists out there, and a lot of it was just little shit. I've encountered more racism in trucking with drivers than I have with the general public. And I mean, and the thing about it is, it's not even towards black drivers as much, so it doesn't affect me as much, but it could be like Indian drivers. It seems like they fucking take hell. You know what I mean? And to me, Indian or Mexican drivers, I think, I look up to a lot. I don't look up to them, but I admire somebody that goes to a different country, regardless of what they're pulling the freight for, but is able to do what they need to do and have their expenses be where they need to make it and still make. I mean, do you realize how hard that shit is? You know what I'm saying? Whether they speak English or not, I mean, that shit is hard. And I've been in other countries where Japan, Korea, where the only reason I survived was because there just happened to be some nice lady that spoke English. You know what I mean? And as egotistical as Americans are about other people speaking English, we, for the most part, are the only country that go visit other countries that don't have that have no sense of that country's language. Think about that shit. Everybody, like I'm just talking to my boy about it yesterday. He's a trucker. We were talking about all the adventures we got into in the Marine Corps. We were in Japan, we weren't stuck, but we were on the little trains they got out there. Could not figure out where we were supposed to go. We asked the lady, "Do you speak English?" "Yes, I speak English. How can I help you?" Boom. Can you imagine like somebody from Japan asking somebody in America, "Do you speak Japanese?" Anyway, I just think we get a little caught up in our shit a little bit every now and then. Alright, let's see. The South, alright, let's see. Chilling in Springfield, Missouri. I know another driver out there chilling in Springfield, Missouri. What insights have you gained into the states collectively? Cultural, economic, and social landscapes. I'm not exactly sure I know how to answer that question. I might be a little too dumb for that one. Coming from Hawaii, I had to adjust to it. There are a lot of different races in Hawaii, but few blacks in Hawaii. They are called, whatever. Yeah, I don't. Okay, here's something for you. Racism and stuff like that. I'm not going to talk about anything in the South, Hawaii, all that kind of shit. If you want to know why black people like Hennessy, these young people do not understand this shit. They just drink Hennessy because the motherfucker is drinking Hennessy. But back in World War II, a lot of the people that would accept black people and not put them down, all that kind of stuff, were French people. And French people were drinking Hennessy, and black people started drinking Hennessy because of these French people, and they kind of carried over. So now you got black motherfuckers just drinking Hennessy because they think it's cool. But there's an actual reason why black people drink Hennessy. Google that shit. You'll understand. Alright. Trucking unfiltered. The Indian drivers are maniacs on the road. I just drove. Listen, I'm for anybody trying to get theirs. I just drove by an Indian dude today. one foot on the, like, above his, like, driver's door, and I'm just, I wanted to say something about him being Indian, but I really just kind of was like, that's a flexible motherfucker. Like, I don't think I could even get my leg up there like that. So, I don't know. But yeah, I've never had an Indian dude. I've never heard an Indian dude on the. Oh, I know what I want to talk about. Tommy Unfiltered. All right, so Tommy Unfiltered. So I've been watching this channel, all this kind of stuff, and as a matter of fact, I wish I still had his phone number. We spoke for a second about some stuff, but he'd been in jail, all this kind of stuff, and he had this, like, and this isn't the first time I've seen this, but he had this, like, white pride tattoo, and there would have been a time that I just looked at that and just been like, oh shit, fuck that. I know this motherfucker ain't got nothing to do with me, but that was, there was prison politics, all this kind of stuff that went along with that. Either way, but had I not been in, well, probably the military, I think I might have seen something similar to that in the military, but I think a lot of people judge people a little bit too much on what they see than what they actually feel from them. So if I didn't have a deeper outlook on things and I saw somebody that just had a white pride thing on, a white pride tattoo on his neck or something like that, I might, like, be looking at that differently. But because I've been through more situations, I don't necessarily look at that like that, and I can see past what I see into somebody's heart or something like that. So I think that kind of goes along with the race thing that we were talking about a little bit, maybe not, but that I probably couldn't have saw that when I was 21 years old and looked at it the same way, because I didn't know any better. You know what I mean? If you were to write a novel inspired by your experiences on the road, what would the story be about? What themes would you explore, and what kind of characters would you introduce? I personally probably could not write a story about being out on the road, because when I'm out on the road, I'm out on the road. I just had a conversation with the driver about a load they were taking and kind of what I would have done and what I thought was maybe wrong with that. I am entirely focused when I'm out here. I don't bullshit around. I ain't taking, it's 10 hours and I'm out. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm very, like, specific about it. But if I was to really think about it, if I was to write a story about trucking, it would be a story of loneliness. And the reason I say that is there are times, not so much anymore, but when I first got into trucking, when people used to be in truck stops more and talking to each other more, is I would run into these truck drivers that were, like, just fucking lonely. Like, they would talk to you about anything and everything for as long as you want to talk to, as long as they can get that interaction. I remember being in training and being at a truck stop eating Denny's with keep in mind, I'm in training, and this truck driver is basically just spilling out his whole life story, talking about everything, and it was just about being lonely. And I think that would be the case that I would write it on. Whether I'm lonely, the same thing, and it would be loneliness between me and my family and all that kind of stuff. So that's what the story would be about, I guess. And we're going to be dialing this shit back here pretty soon. So that's going to change a little bit. It may not be completely, unlonely, but it's going to be a lot less. But that's what I see in truck drivers. I see a lot of loneliness. I see a lot of mental fucking fatigue with drivers. I'm not going to call it like being crazy or anything like that, but I think there's a lot of truck drivers out here that lose a lot of social skills. And I think a lot of it is, if I was to do it, it would be the search for. Uh, if I was going to do a story, it might be the search for something better. And I think that in itself is something that always causes truck drivers, doesn't always, but it causes truck drivers a lot of issues, is because that search for being that owner-operator, owning your own truck. A lot of truck drivers, if they just got on company right off the bat and just stayed company forever, would have been a whole bunch better, or a whole lot better, but they're always like, there's always that search to do better, search to do better, search to do better. And I think that is a problem with a lot of people, and I think if a lot of people just didn't think about that, or weren't trying to do that, they would be a lot better. Don't know if that makes sense. Hopefully you understand what I'm talking about. Lee is headed to Denver tomorrow. I'll be there on Wednesday. Let's see. Most of the immigrants are multilingual who have learned to survive in this country, but often gets labeled as lazy. Listen, okay, we're about to get to this one. Lots of Americans have negative, or can't be. All right, let's talk about this whole immigrant thing and talk about multilingual and all this kind of stuff, and Americans thinking they're lazy. First of all, any place where in California where they're picking produce and stuff like that would not run without illegal immigrants. First of all, period. That would not happen. Secondly, a lot of this bullshit that you hear about, these immigrants are getting Social Security. No, that's bullshit. Most of them might be doing shit wrong. I'm going to give them that. They might get a fake Social Security number and have taxes actually get paid to some other motherfucker. They aren't getting no Social Security at 65. None of that shit. If you hear any of that shit, tell me about it, and I'll tell you you're a fucking liar. There's no fucking immigrants getting no Social Security at 65 illegally. It ain't happening. There might be an American with the Social Security number of an illegal immigrant that's used that might be getting paid more because of it, but that shit ain't happening. Illegal immigrants, I'm going to tell you right now, California produce shit would go right down the drain if it wasn't for illegal immigrants. And it's not like they're taking your fucking job. Listen, if I'm working in a fucking produce field, then I did some shit wrong in my fucking life. You don't see no illegal immigrants out there fucking working at IBM or no shit like that. Taking some fucking job. That is the dumbest shit ever. Anyway. So I think a lot of this shit just comes from, I think a lot of it wouldn't be racist beliefs, but I think that a lot of the shit recently has turned like maybe beliefs into racist beliefs, or whatever it was. But if you're like, if a Mexican guy from another country, if you're saying they can't speak English, but let's say they can't speak English, if they're taking your job, you fucked up in life. That's it. You could blame it on the Mexican immigrant. You could do whatever. There's no Mexican immigrant. I don't give a fuck what they're saying. There's nobody coming over taking your... All this bullshit, they ain't getting no free cell phones. They ain't getting all this shit. The shit they were talking about in Denver. Oh, they're taking over apartment complexes. You know what they're doing? They're moving into empty fucking places where they have a chance. You know what? Get rid of them. Do whatever you want, but they ain't taking over the fucking place. And no Hell's Angels went out to Colorado and kicked no fucking people out of no fucking apartment place. They did the same exact thing. That, as a matter of fact, they were abandoned apartments. It wasn't or units. What? Anyway, some of this shit just pisses me off. Making shit worse than it is. Like, you know what? If people enforce the laws, do what you want to do, but don't say anybody's taking shit from you. Like, how fucking much... how much of a pussy am I going to look like if I'm saying I can't get work or everything's fucked up with me because some fucking illegal immigrant that jumped the fence 6 weeks ago is affecting my life? I'm a fucking pussy if that's the case. Oh, shit, that pissed me off. Anyway, let me get back to this. Shamarcus talking about misinformation. I hear you on that one. Some of the entitled motherfuckers be blaming on illegal immigrants from their AC grooms. Yeah, it boils my blood. I'm just telling you, if there's ever a time, if a mortgage broker and even truck drivers, what is the real percentage of illegal truck drivers coming over here passing all these truck scales with illegal driver's licenses and all this stuff? Like, really, how much freight are they really moving? So, if somebody affects my life that came over here illegally to make their life better, then all power to them. Then I got to give that to them. They got me on that one. Nothing sick, Semper Tyrannus. I'm just out here ranting real quick. If you could choose to live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why would... Okay, what do you believe is essential for a fulfilling... Man, this is some deep shit. And how would this location provide those elements? If I could move anywhere, I would move back to San Diego, California. I went out there last year and hung out with my aunt who lives out there, and if I had a chance, as a matter of fact, before I was taking it up the ass all year, I was thinking about trying to come up with a plan to buy a vacation property or buy another house out in San Diego. You know, you're not bullshitting around out there. If you're buying a place out there, you're talking $500,000-$700,000 minimum. So I didn't have a chance to really focus on that much, because as soon as I started focusing on that, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. So all my dreams from last year fucking on hold. So I haven't even started dreaming again. So I don't know. But if I had to think about it again, San Diego would be the place I would go. I don't need to live out of the country. None of that shit. You know, I've always felt like there's too much shit to do in America for me to be wanting to go somewhere else, especially since I had a chance to go to a few of those places. So yeah, San Diego would probably be where I would go. I miss San Diego a lot from living out there for a while. All right. There was a hotel near me here in Cape Cod, forced out some of the veterans because the state was going to pay double that rate for... I don't see that, but if that's the case, why would somebody pay an illegal immigrant double what they're paying veterans? First of all, I don't see it. And if that's the case, at some point I got to look inward, okay? So everything's not fair. So here's what I'm saying. Everybody wants to act like, okay, well, black people, everything, you've had 400 years to get over it. Even though we've built fucking highways through your cities, we've done everything we can. Even though you couldn't buy houses in this area, so you've lost out. I'm not even looking at that shit. I'm saying, what? Fuck it. And I was lucky because my grandparents and stuff were not. They've always been kind of not the type to do that, but there have been a lot of people that got fucked. If I looked at every time black people got fucked and blamed it on somebody, it'd be like a weak ass, driver at Prime looking for the best load, but just driving around in circles of the terminal waiting for it to happen. I gotta do what I gotta do. I can't sit here and blame shit on everybody. So if I was a military veteran and they paid immigrants twice as much as I did, then I would fucking learn to speak Spanish and pretend like I was a fucking immigrant and get paid twice as much. I mean, that's the way I'd look at it. Because I just can't see it. I can't see it. If I could travel back in time in history, where would I go? What would you want to see, experience? If I could travel back in history, I would travel back to 1968 and start this shit all over again and take life a little bit more serious. You know, I had a lot of fun, but there's a lot of bullshit I was doing, so I could... Fuck, I don't even gotta go back to 1968. If I could just go back to 1999, knowing what I know now, and I'm not saying no bullshit like, you know what the stock market's gonna do, or you can bet all this shit like it's some, you know, Back to the Future shit. I'm just saying, with the intelligence I have now, if I could just go back to 1999, I would have at least $2 or $3 more million right now. So, let's say 1996. If I just knew what I knew now, without knowing about the markets and anything like that, just understood, like, not wasting money impressing girls, not driving around expensive cars for no reason, not buying shit that's unnecessary. If I just had that and could go back, that would be as far back as I need to go. Not even that far. Fuck. So yeah, I don't got to go back that far. I mean, there's a lot of different things that I've messed up in life, and a lot of my videos, I haven't done them a lot lately because I've been dealing with what I've been dealing with. But a lot of it isn't how to be a better trucker, not anything like that. It's a different mindset, and it's not for people that are my age. It's for people that are younger that might get caught up in. You know, they see all this shit. You know, all these people walking around with all this fucking money holding up their ear, or out here driving all these fucking cars and all this shit. And I'm just telling you, man, I could think of how many fucking cars I bought and how much money I could have put in 401ks or stocks or whatever it was that I didn't, because I was out here trying to impress some fucking girl that I was going to be around for the next 36 hours or, you know, maybe even 6 months. You know, so, or other people, you know, like, here's the dumbest shit, and it's not as much around now as it was back then. Back in the 90s, loud stereo systems. So I'm going to go ahead and spend $2,500 for a loud stereo system to annoy a motherfucker that's driving next to me and fuck up my hearing for the next 10 years. I mean, my hearing wasn't fucked up because I didn't have it that long. But I mean, what kind of sense does that make? You know what I mean? So, really what I want is young people watching this channel, 20s, early 30s, you know, whatever, to realize that all this flexing and having all this shit is really not worth it. The amount of money you spend on clothes, cars, you know, like, just wasted in general. Like, stack your money up. Put that shit in a fucking 401k, or put it in a, you know, open up a Merrill Lynch account, or I don't know, whatever. What do people put it in? Robinhood? I don't know. Put it in a stock account and start stacking money. Let that be what impresses you. Not like I'm wearing this particular clothes, or I'm like doing this. That's advice to my younger me. Buy real estate. Fuck. There you go. It's another one. Maybe in trucking that's a little bit weird, because normally I would say, you know what, buy real estate. You got to live in it anyway. But truckers don't necessarily have to. But for the most part, everybody keeps saying real estate's going to go down. It's not going to go down. So just having your foot in the real estate market is just going to gain money over time, all that kind of shit. And to be honest with you, a decision I made back in, well, first of all, I mean, the first one was 1998, 99, whatever. But 2004, that property I have, that property right there is going to go up X amount of money every year. It's paid off, been paid off for a while. It's going to go up X amount of money every year. When I go to retire, selling that place, at some point, that could, like, that's a large chunk of the retirement. So think ahead. Don't just think about buying shit now and how cool you look now and all. Buy some shit that's going to gain some money down the road. Let me get back to this. Six Semper Tyrannus, I think that is, doesn't believe shit. I'm guided by my gut and faith. There you go. 420 says, I got some good answers. I appreciate that. Eminem, nope, not Eminem. The motel was getting reimbursed by the state of Massachusetts for illegals at higher rates than veterans could pay. The state was also paying for daily food deliveries to those illegals. Again, John, I'm not saying that I agree with it, but I'm saying if I'm ever in a position, no matter how much the scales are tipped in illegal immigrants' favor, I've done something wrong with my life. I need to reevaluate where I went wrong. Now, I'm not saying that that's not the case or whatever. Somewhere I fucked up. Because I'm never going to say, well, what I will say is there's probably been an illegal immigrant that's came in the country after I've got here that's made millions of dollars, you know, whatever. But typically that's not going to be the case. Average, I might have done something wrong. I might look inward as opposed to placing the blame on somebody else. Never take financial advice from people that don't know what they're talking about. Agree with that. Hell, buy an empty lot in a strategic spot and rent it out to trucking. I absolutely agree with that. Unfortunately, there's nowhere near where I'm at where you'd be able to buy that land that cheap. But fuck, do you see what these people are getting for washouts? Like, I'm not in the area where you have a problem getting washouts, but if I lived in like some of these places you go to, man, I'd open up a washout in a heartbeat. And I know sometimes they have to deal with regulations or, you know, whatever, but fuck, that's printing money right there. Fuck having an empty parking spot. I'd have like a washout. I don't know where you live. Hey, where do you live at Semper or Sick? Whatever, I can't see it from here. Given the complex interplay of economic factors, geopolitical, this is getting a little deep for me. Market sentiment. How do I assess the likelihood of a global recession in the next coming years? I don't see it. I think that we're about to pull out of it either way. Regardless of who takes office, we're about to pull out of this recession. It is a global recession, which a lot of people don't take account of. They just think it's Republican or Democrat. We're the only ones going through it. The entire world is going through a recession right now. So I think we're about to pull out of that. What strategies would I recommend for individuals and businesses to... Jesus Christ, this guy definitely has a college education right here. Political risks associated with such economic downturns. Fuck, I don't know, man. You're way smarter than me. One thing I would always say with anything is be fucking lean. Do not have a lot of credit. That is the one thing that saved me through all this, is not having a lot of debt. And because no matter how bad things are, and I say things are bad, and I'm going through things that are bad, is that I don't have a bunch of financial risk out there. I have a house I pay for, but then that's offset by a house that I rent. So really no debt whatsoever other than that. So that's why I've been able to survive through this. And I think that whether it's countries, because countries have credit scores, whatever, is just the people that have capital or cash or low debt on hand are able to fucking make it. That's the way I've kind of tried to live my life. And to be honest with you, that's the way I've been able to make it this last year. Alright, let's see. PS Smoke 420, I drive a truck too. Yeah, you are definitely smart as fuck with these questions. So anyway, that's kind of... Man, those were probably the deepest questions I think I've ever had. So man, that's a lot of thought going into that shit. So I actually admire somebody bringing those questions in, because that's definitely not normal trucker talk that you get on your channel. But for those of you guys just came in, I've had trouble getting my truck started. Well, let's go way back. So people that just came in, I had 4 trucks running under prime. To make a long story short, there's a bunch of stuff that happened that made me think about how much less exposed I wanted to leave myself to this market. So I had a lease purchase on a 2024. So my third one. So I had 4 trucks. The third of the 4 I turned in. So I still had a payment on this one, but I turned in this one. Just gave it back. I had a year and a half left on it. I looked at the numbers and I was like, you know what? That's about break even to what it's worth, so it doesn't make sense for me to keep that one. I sold my 21. So my oldest truck, I sold that one. So that left me with 2 trucks. The truck I'm in now would be my second truck. This truck's going to be paid off in December. And then I have the newest of the 4 trucks that's going to get paid off in a year and a half from December. So I decided to do that just because almost like I'm buying my freedom, to be honest with you. And I figured that the 4th truck I had would probably maybe be the last truck that I might have ever, depending on how many miles, whatever. So I mean, that was kind of the reasoning behind it. So I'm going back to Denver now because this truck right here hasn't been starting all that good. So I've been having to get out and bang the starter, start it up. So I have a load going back to Denver, drop it in the shop, get that stuff done on it, and then head back out and go from there. So that's kind of brings you up to where I'm at now. All right. Okay. Jesus Christ. Who is this? PS Smoke 420? He's got to have a degree or some shit. Given the fluctuating interest rates and housing market conditions, what factors should homeowners consider when deciding whether to refinance their mortgage? I'm on the fence. Jesus Christ. He's either one of the smartest people. Like, these questions I'm not used to getting. It depends on what your mortgage rate is right now, right? So I came out of the mortgage industry, and we bought this house in 2017. So luckily we were able to sell a house and make a whole bunch of money on it previous to this. We bought this house like right at the bottom end of 2017. So we bought it at not only the bottom end of the market, but the bottom end of the mortgage rates. Kind of the bottom end. I think our interest rate might have been like 3.75 or something crazy like that. So we ended up buying this house, and then when rates dropped to like 2, I think I decided to refinance it again at that point. Now the problem with that is now I'm trapped. So there's a ton of houses out there that I looked at and I was like, man, here's how much my house is worth. Here's how much it would be to buy that. But now I'm trading a 2 point. I don't even know what our interest rate is. Whatever it is. I'm trading that interest rate for a higher interest rate, even if the house is maybe just a little bit more. So I'm almost trapped in our house until rates go up, or if I would say it would depend on what your interest rate is as far as why you would want to buy another house. Now, do you want to get cash out of the house? That's a different story. Depending on what your interest rate is, it might make sense to refinance the house, take some cash out if your interest rate is too high, or get a line of credit or something like that. But it's really a complicated time to think about those things, because I was thinking about buying, not really hard, but I was kind of thinking about buying a house off a lake that's kind of by where we live, and it might have been like, so let's say I bought the house, let's say it would have been like $400,000. We bought it for, let's say it's worth, like, at the time I was thinking about it, like 600 something thousand. And they'd be like, well, I could sell this, but then you got to think about what you're losing on it. So I'd lose a bunch of money, but hey, you know what? I know a bunch of realtors. They'll sell it to me without a fee as long as I buy the next one. So now I'm only going up $100,000 to move there, but then you got to add that interest rate back in. So if I'm at 2.2 or whatever it is now, and I buy a house that's maybe I would be adding $75,000 or $100,000 to it, that's not $400,000, or not $400,000. That's not $400 as it would have been. Now you're looking at maybe another $1,000, $1,200 to it. So it's hard to really think about. It's a very crazy time to be thinking about doing anything. All right, let's see. Why not turn in the fourth truck with the most payments left? You know, the reason I thought about that was the third truck, even though I had a year and a half left on it, if you really looked at what it was worth and turning it in, it was kind of break even at that point, right? That truck had 170, forget how many miles, 170 something thousand miles on it, as opposed to like 69,000 miles on it. So my thoughts were, in December, and once this truck is paid off, regardless of what happens, let's say my driver says, Lyle, I'm done driving with you, you know, then I could just either keep both trucks or sell one truck and then pay off the balance of this fourth truck. But I didn't, if it was like I knew that the driver in the new truck was going to leave, maybe that would change things. But I just thought that the newer, I understand what you're saying. I just didn't think that was the right course of action to do, especially with Prime and not knowing how long you keep trucks on fleets and things like that. I knew that newer truck would be able to stay on longer. And to be honest with you, it was a better truck. So that kind of goes all into it. Because initially I was kind of thinking about doing that. But in the end, really, if you really boil it down to anything, having a truck paid off, whether I kept trucks, didn't keep trucks, whatever, that in itself was going to be enough right there. That was kind of the, whether I gave the two of them back or just kept this one, just having that was going to be enough. Now, if I could keep the fourth one and have that, do what it does for the next few years, or pay, like I said, this truck will be worth money in a few months. It's not like me trying to sell the 21 with 500,000 miles on it. This truck will be worth a lot of money. So even at that point, I could just sell it and pay off the third truck or fourth truck. I don't know. I ran a bunch of shit in my mind. That's what I came up with. It's hard for me to explain it. All right, Matthew has a very interesting question. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I would probably say he could probably chuck. I couldn't break it down to you exactly. Jesus Christ. All right. What are the potential benefits and drawbacks of finance or refinancing? And how can individuals determine if it's the right decision for their financial situation? I would almost say right now, if you got a home mortgage within the last 4 years, there's no reason to look at refinancing. Even if it was to pull out money, none of that stuff. If your interest rate is less than 5 or maybe even 6%, there's no reason to even look at refinancing. Maybe get a line of credit if you need some money. HELOC loans. My thoughts on HELOC loans are favorable as long as they're used for what their intention is for. Short-term type shit to handle business. I'd say a HELOC line of credit might be better. Pay off the shit that you do at a time and just have money laying around in case you need to use it, or a line of credit. What's up with Jim C? I don't know. I haven't talked to Jim C in a while. HELOC line of credit is like a credit card for your house. That's definitely correct. You can borrow money whenever you need, and then you can pay it back. And yeah, so that's a HELOC is basically a big old credit card. So that is one of the advantages of it, is you can pay it out. Now the disadvantage of it is, let's say interest rates drop real low for a second, right? And you owe $300,000 on your house. And you have a $50,000 line of credit on your house. A lot of times mortgage companies are going to want you to close that second HELOC out to refinance that first, and sometimes that takes a little time to do it, and you could lose out on your rate while that's going on. How do I know? I did it for years, 20 years. All right, okay, but does the HELOC continue to grow as no, a HELOC, your house is what goes up. So a HELOC is basically a mortgage on the house. As you pay your mortgage, the mortgage balance goes down. Most HELOCs don't go down because they're interest-only payments. So that balance doesn't keep going down unless you pay it down. So, Johnny B, my interest rate is 3%. No reason to refinance that at all unless you absolutely need it to. Naturally created. Listen, I'm here to help anybody. If somebody wants to come to Prime and use my referral code, I'm all here for it. But listen, if it's not in this video, which it may or may not be, it's in my past videos. I got either my email address or my phone number. Send a message. I'll talk to anybody about whatever. You know what I'm saying? So when you're ready to buy a house, and there's the old YouTube channel, he's not putting out videos anymore, that will absolutely tell you I'm where I'm at now because Lyle helped me buy a house and it's gone up this much in value, and I was able to do this, and so I'm more than happy to help people, walk them through it. So don't feel like you can't reach out to me through my email, phone number, whatever. Alright, I don't know how old this comment is. What's my outlook on the economy? Keeping people from... The economies are always going to change. The people that expect economies to always go better or be like, well, gas price was $2.30 4 years ago. Yeah, a lot of that shit's bullshit. You know, you could always go back and find another time. Economies ebb and flow. And smart people, and I'm saying a lot smarter than me, hope for there to be instability in markets. So while everybody in trucking, or, you know, and I'm, you know, is like, well, just vote with your wallet. Here's what gas prices were within. You know, smart people that don't look at dumb shit like truck drivers do, look at, you know what, this has been a very unstable market. When's the time to make money? In unstable markets. So it's us dumb fucks that are out here like, well, gas prices were low back then. My point is, look long term and try to look past this dumb trucker ideology to base your finances on, or your, you know, whatever. If I follow what truck drivers did, I'd be even dumber than I am now. All right. People can afford houses now. This is the same shit that was happening 30 fucking years ago. I remember when I sold a house in California, and you know why I sold the house in California? Because it was or a condo in California. It was $130,000, I think, and I was like, they'll never be worth this much anymore. Who's ever going to be able to afford this shit? Guess what? People are always going to be able to afford shit. So I don't know how, and I keep thinking about selling my condo right now. It's like worth $360,000. I'm like, why am I going to sell it? Or I keep thinking about selling it. Why do I do? Because that shit that you just said goes through my head. There's never going to be a condo worth $340,000. And I'm like, well, fuck. I just had a condo that was worth $310,000 in California, worth like damn near $600,000 now. So people will always find, either people will find a way to pay for it, or markets will find a way. So people will be able to afford houses. Trust me. I'm sitting on a gold mine right now in the Bay Area. Oh shit. If you bought a place in the Bay Area, my God, he's about to be killing it. Worth $1.5, he owes $430. I'm telling you, if you bought, here's the thing, and this is the dumb thing truck drivers do, or some people in general. I bought a house in Springfield. Let's just use that for an example. I am using it kind of as a case in fact, but let's just use it as an example. I bought a house in Springfield, Missouri, and I paid cash for it, you know, whatever. And yeah, I understand that. If you look at Springfield, houses, and houses may have gone up a little bit more, but there was the time that I looked in Springfield where houses that were bought 10 years ago had only gone up like $15,000, $20,000. At this point, I looked at it. So, you're always going to have people say, I'll only buy a house in the red states, or you made a mistake moving to the blue states. And you know what? Maybe not. But typically the blue states or blue areas in red states, and not there's anything wrong with Republicans or red places. Generally, where there's more people, there's going to be more income fluctuation and more diversity in income. If you move to, let's say, I wouldn't say that Nashville would be it probably is a blue area in a red state, but that's an area where you have a bunch of different people from a bunch of different backgrounds buying a bunch of different real estate. That is going to fluctuate more than going to like some area where there's 30,000 people where everybody does the same thing for a living, where like, you want fluctuations in markets. That's where you make money. So if I said it's smart of me to go buy a house in Springfield, Missouri because I can for cash, and I'll spend $230,000 for a house that I could buy in Denver for $400,000. Well, 2 years from now, when the house in Springfield is worth $233,000 and the house in Denver is worth $540,000, what was the smart move? You know what I mean? So you got to think deeper than, just kind of what things are worth now and all that kind of stuff. And it's not even a political thing. I'm just saying red and blue because generally you're going to have red areas in states where it's smaller communities, things like that, and you're typically going to have Democratic places in states that are a little bit more populated. So if I was to buy a place in like any state, you pick a state, and then compare that to more populated areas, not because of politics, but just because of sheer volume. Those places that have more volume are typically going to go up in value more because there's more people moving there. Those happen to be generally going to be more Democratic places. Not politics, it just is what it is. That's why Nebraska, houses that somebody in, maybe not the bigger areas, Omaha might be different, Lincoln might be different, but if you go to a small area in Nebraska where they were selling houses for, $180,000 10 years ago, this shit might be worth $200,000 now, or even gone down in value. I've seen in some areas. So I know I beat that around the bush. Maybe I got off track. I don't know. And listen, I'm not trying to be... I think I'm smart when it comes to trucking. I think I'm smart a little bit when it comes to some of this real estate stuff. For the most part, I've got lucky with some shit. And I'm not really that fucking smart. I was able to... I've really done dumb shit. Or I thought was dumb shit. That I didn't know was smart when I did it. If that makes sense. I think now, being older, almost 60 years old, I'm able to look at things a little bit different. But if I would have known shit that some of the shit that I've made money on was just ignorant bliss, to be honest with you. Or I got trapped in it. You know what I mean? So I made money off of this one townhouse that I had, not because I was so smart and could look forward, because I got trapped in the motherfucker and I couldn't sell it. And then when I wanted to sell it and I could sell it, my sister had cancer. So I said, you know what, why don't you move into my place and whatever. And then she moved in, and then while she moved in, the house went up like a bunch of money. That wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to sell the place and make a little bit of money, but because she got cancer, I sold it, and the time she was there, it went up a bunch of money, so I made a bunch of money on it. That was just ignorant bliss. That wasn't because I was smart. Alright, what lessons can be learned from the... I think we already went over this. The best lessons I can teach is... Not teach, because I'm not no teacher. Low debt. That's it. You want to know how to win, no matter what you're doing? Low debt. Period. That's it. All right, well, shoot. It's coming up on 5:30 out here in Ohio. I don't know why my messages aren't coming through on this other phone, but I'm glad I got this other phone, and I'm telling you, some of these questions were more insightful than I'd be normally used to, but I really do appreciate those, as well as the other questions. I will start getting back to making regular videos and answering comments and stuff like that. I just really need to. It's easier for me to just come on and talk about what's on my mind right now. And to be honest with you, I just need to go through what I'm going through right the other side, and then really have something to kind of talk about. Because I think I have a lot of insight to give people on what my last couple of years has been, but I don't really want to talk about it until I've actually made it past the other side and kind of be able to give a full kind of accounting on what was going on and things I see and see from other people, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'm going to narrow that down to 420. Listen, some of the questions you're asking would probably be something, I don't even know how to get other people on lives or whatever and have like a split screen or something like that. But those are questions that are that deep. Those are questions that are actually hard for me to read right now with as small as the text is on that. But definitely some valid questions. But the things I really want to kind of, and why I haven't done videos lately is, a lot of the videos that I would want to do would be about my perspective on things and, how I run load, whatever. It could be just trucking in general, whatever. For this last year or so, it's been a little bit more than that. So some of the things I would be able to speak on are maybe a little bit more broad than what the average person in trucking might want to really deal with, and I think it would still be valuable, and I will talk about that at some point. But like I said, I don't want to really talk about some of this stuff until, like, it's almost like this, and it's kind of not the right way to say it, but I don't want to talk about getting my ass kicked until I get done getting my ass kicked. So, and have something to pass on to somebody else on that. So let me just get through this, and then I'm going to probably be able to kind of get a little bit deeper in the things that, some of the mistakes I made over the last year, some of the things that I did well over the last year, and some of the things that I would have changed over these last couple of years. I think that would help a lot of people, whether that be people that are just coming into trucking, people that are company drivers, lease drivers, or even people that are looking to expand past that. I think there's a lot that I've gained, but again, I don't want to really get into that until I've made it through that, and we will get to that. All right, let's see. PS Smoke drives for Schaefer. Hey, that's a good company. So that's it. I just don't want to really get into those kind of topics until I can really get into it. So I'm about to get off of here now, but I do appreciate you guys stopping by No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. As always, comment, subscribe. I'm out.